Let's go to the Oz, Matt. Now, the splashes, Labor bid to end carbon wars, Albanese writes to PM seeking bipartisan approach to climate policy. Big story by Geoff Chambers, who is very much at the top of his game in Canberra. Anthony Albanese has moved to end the energy and climate wars by abandoning the failed National Energy Guarantee and Clean Energy Target in a bid to strike a bipartisan agreement with Scott Morrison and support investment in new power generation. The opposition leader on Wednesday will endorse the Prime Minister's technology investment roadmap as the platform to deliver longer-lasting energy policy, but warns any new national plan must accommodate higher emissions reduction targets under a Labor government. Now, this is such an incredibly challenging and complex area for the federal government. Of course, we saw a story today where Angus Taylor spoke of the need to even look at nuclear energy as being one of the components. This is not a binary argument. When we talk about reducing emissions and when we talk about reliability, we often think about, OK, coal-fired gas stations, coal-fired power stations, we talk about renewables, we talk about solar, we talk about wind. It's the entire package that goes into this. But this is a massive shift when you think, say, even 8-10 years ago, when Rudd was initially trying to get this sort of national energy guarantee up, and then, of course, he folded spectacularly, Matt. But now it seems as though it's turned full circle from Albanese.
Well, it's a necessary shift, I think, Gleeso, from Anthony Albanese, because history tells us that this has been a road to ruin for the Labor Party for a long time. It led to Kevin Rudd's downfall at first. When he was the Prime Minister. It's led to the downfall of Malcolm Turnbull on 2 occasions as the Liberal leader, both as the opposition leader and again when he was the Prime Minister. And it's had a lot to do with the coalition remaining in power, despite the fact that it really was a chaotic government for 3 years, for most of the 3 years between 2016 and 2019. It was only the fact that they were able to remove Malcolm Turnbull as the leader, put Scott Morrison in, and then differentiate themselves from the Labor Party, on this issue in particular, that saw them, go to the polls and win in 2019. I mean, who could forget what happened in Queensland, Gleeso? And it was Labor's huge problem there, and it's the reason they lost so many seats in Queensland. The fact that people couldn't work out whether Bill Shorten was supporting blue-collar coal miners or whether he was supporting, yuppies and hippies in the inner suburbs of Melbourne. And I think that was a large part of the reason why Labor lost the election. Anthony Albanese's not stupid. He can see that. He's a smart, student of political history, and he knows that Labor needs to deal with this issue, needs to put this issue off the table, if you like, if it's going to have any chance of winning the next election. And I think that is what Anthony Albanese is trying to do here.
Matty Cunningham, you've hit the nail right on the head, and, they were warned. They were warned that seats like Flynn and Capricornia and Dawson and Herbert were at stake if they didn't sort of get the splinters out of their bum when it came to policy in relation to job creation and job retention for miners. And I've got no doubt whatsoever, absolutely no doubt, that Bill Shorten would be in the lodge if he'd have come out and said quite clearly that he backs coal mining in Queensland. We had the former Deputy Premier, Jackie Trad, here in Queensland saying before May 18 that miners should re-skill. What sort of messaging did that send to those people? And I spent 3 or 4 days there just before the last election, federal election, up in that sort of Rockhampton, Gladstone, Townsville area, Matty, and I can tell you now, those places are swamped with the yellow and orange high-vis vests and shirts, and they rely on those industries big time. And any Labor government that wants to get back into power has to embrace these guys. And we know in Clermont, which is traditionally, Labor voters, 90% of them voted for Michelle Landry, the LNP candidate, because they were backing coal creation and coal jobs.